going to go for two here.
He's going for two.
If you don't make this, you lose.
One.
Okay, we are live after an exciting weekend of football, and I don't even know where to start. But before we actually start breaking down the games here and getting into this, besides the fact that Coolbet took all of our money this weekend, how was watching the games, boys? Kalen, maybe you should start because I guess your game was the first one of the weekend. So maybe we'll start with you. How did that go for you?
Well, the Michael Jordan meme above my head says it all right now. I'm just crying. I've been crying for 48 hours.
I have a therapist you can talk to. I can give you a good hourly rate. I can give referral friends a fee.
Well, as a Tampa fan, you probably would have had that on hotline, eh?
Oh, man. It sounds really bad and I sound like a shitty fan, but I actually don't feel that bad about the game. Like I was telling these guys before we hopped on, I actually didn't think we were going to win. I know you shouldn't say that as a friend, but I think I said that even before we were on film last week and we were talking about it. Then getting our asses absolutely handed to us in the beginning of the game, it kind of just like set the bars. Like it's like, well, I guess it is what it is. And like, yeah, it came down to the end, but meh. And a lot of people reached out to me about the final play call. We can definitely get into that later on. I won't get into too in depth about that, but yeah, no, like it sucked. But like I think in total, like I think just the overall weekend of football made up for like the one bad game, as bad as that sounds.
Well, I did have the Rams, but it's not like that was the big bet. The big bet that I had for the weekend was the Bills. So after a shitty Saturday where I was on the Titans and the Packers, got screwed over in both of those by kickers. With 13 seconds left, I was sitting there thinking, okay, the weekend fixed itself. Everything's good now. And Patrick Mahomes goes all the way down the field. No idea what the Bills were doing. But that's where we're going to start. That's where we're going to lead this thing off. We're going to start it in Kansas City against Buffalo. The game got off to the start that we thought it was going to. Both teams score on their opening drives. Then they stalled out a little bit, and then both teams happened to score in the final 2 minutes. And from there, it was just pandemonium. The second half was unreal. I'm sure that everyone, if they hadn't seen a Josh Allen game, is probably in the same camp that I am now that, yeah, this guy is the real deal, and he doesn't act like an idiot every time he makes a play. He doesn't even signal first down. He just gets up, throws the ball to the ref, and like gets back over. Doesn't really show a lot of emotion. He saves that for some of the other guys. But how you feel about Josh Allen right now?
He's the second best quarterback in the AFC. It's that simple. He's going to be a star. I think we just witnessed what the next 10 years can look like. Kind of we touched on last week how spoiled the AFC is going to be, and it's feel bad for you guys got to go against that for the next 10 years with all those kids. Yeah. But yeah, he played lights out. He has a different dimension, and like Kalen, you brought it up in a chat yesterday. Like I feel like I'm watching the Texas offense from like 2007 with Vince Young. Yeah, they just used like he is their best weapon, and they put the similar to what San Francisco does with Debo. How do I get the ball in this guy's hands as much as possible?
Mm-hmm.
And if his body holds up and they can continue that route, that guy's gonna have a lot of MVPs in his future. The problem is he going to be able to beat Patrick Mahomes year in and year out because they're gonna be playing a lot of one and done games, I think.
Yeah, Josh Allen, man, the guy's taken. 2 years ago, we talked about how inaccurate this guy was. He was almost on the same level as Mitchell Trubisky. Or people were making fun of him on that same part. And look how much he's grown in the last couple of years. You mentioned the emotion. I saw a hell of a lot of it last night in the final minute. You're right. He was pretty tame for a lot of the game, but after scoring the touchdown, let's fucking go. He's screaming on the sidelines and getting in his defensive players' heads and stuff because just goes to show again one more time the NFL is offensively driven and doesn't matter how good your defense. Like the Bills are a top-notch defense, and the Chiefs were still able to march right up the field on them. Offense, it just seemed like I would take a mediocre offense sometimes over a pretty damn good defense in the NFL these days, especially the playoff ball right now. But spoiled a great game. People that didn't even watch football had an argument earlier this week about why is football so fun to watch. Whereas the people who don't watch football, they're obviously hockey fans. And they were the ones messaging me like, "Oh, this is an awesome game." Like, didn't know the Bills were even good. They thought they were, a really bad team, and they obviously had their eyes open last night. The Bills are going to be around for a while, guys. Especially they got Josh Allen. It's going to be and Gabriel Davis. I mean, what a coming out party for him too. I mean, not that he hasn't been a good wide receiver, but to have that kind of a postseason record now on your back as well for touchdowns in a playoff game, wow, special.
And like epic big touchdowns too. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He had, I mean, all 4 of them. But when it came down to it, like one thing that stood out to me for Buffalo, and one thing that really needs to be addressed for them is, well, first of all, Sean McDermott, he's supposed to be a defensive coach, like pull your shit together. Second of all, their offensive line stinks. They're going to have to figure that one out. I think
Also,
that pretty much every offensive line this weekend seemed like they stunk, but go ahead.
The one thing that stuck out to me, and I understand he had 2 guys on him all day long, but what bothered me a lot was how they didn't try to move him around. All week long, all you saw everywhere was, this guy stood there and watched the Chiefs last year. He's going to be the most dangerous man on the field. 4 targets, 3 catches, 7 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that Davis had a massive game because...
And one hell of a fan takedown too, Chad. Don't forget about that.
That was a great... That was the most exciting thing he did all day.
There was
but
14 points scored after that.
Yeah. That's your best player outside of Josh Allen. They kind of go hand in hand. And if he's getting double teamed and playing a safety over top of him, first off, I understand that the Honey Badger wasn't there, so that there's holes there. Why are you not moving him in situations so he's getting that mismatch? Similar to what the Chiefs do with Tyreek Hill, he's never in the same spot. He's our most dangerous weapon. We want the ball in his hands. How do I put the ball in his hands? You move him around to get him in space. If you're not doing that with Stephon Diggs, and he's so itchy. Also, when it's that outside and a receiver's doing nothing all day long, what do you expect going to happen as the game goes down?
Right. He was lucky to catch that 2-point conversion. And, I mean, it was a hell of a catch, hell of a throw. I think that Josh Allen had quite a few things that would be characterized as hell of a throw. But
I wanted to come back to Chad mentioning the USC Texas thing, specifically the play where the offensive line crashed on him on the right side, and it was on the final drive there too for him, and they completely crashed, and he was able to still get outside. It wasn't for a touchdown, but it was for a 25-yard bullet that he threw anyway. Those specific, that's crazy. Now, the one thing that the Bills I think really need to change, you mentioned their offensive line, they just need an actual running back. They cannot throw the ball like that many times in a game and expect that Josh Allen's going to be around forever. They don't even have the wide receiver core, I feel, that can really put up that kind of offensive work, game over game. I know they kind of did it throughout the season, but if you get a little bit of a running back there, think of how much easier it's going to be for them to kind of take some of those chunk yardage plays again and not have to deal, even if you have a bad offensive line, even a running back can get you at least 4 yards a carry. They're not even getting that right now.
Yeah, for anybody that's watching and they're wondering who just said that, that was Kalen. It just looks like he's in witness protection right now. Because your face is all blurred out. The one thing, and I didn't even realize this happened. I was reading an article about it. It kind of stood out to me after the game, seeing it. Andy Reid saying to Patrick Mahomes, "When things get grim, be the Grim Reaper." That is an unreal quote.
Usually it's always food quotes from Andy, but that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. And I mean, they did it. They got it done. We could talk a little bit about, let's just talk about that 2 minutes. I mean, the last 2 minutes were unreal. There was 25 points scored in those 2 minutes. So we were all watching it. Walk me through your roller coaster ride. As a Bills bettor, you already know where my roller coaster ride was and what I was doing.
Well, I was trying to get back in our little race here. So I was pulling for them Chiefs, which doesn't typically happen for me.
You did. You got back in it.
Yeah, so I'll have to check what the tally is after the show here. But
right now you're 1 behind Rick and 2 behind Chad.
Okay.
I thought it'd be fun not to win a game this weekend. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Over 4. Lovely.
Yeah. Chad and Rick both put up the offers. I luckily got 1, but I mean, you're gonna need to score a touchdown to catch me.
Yeah, that's not happening. But yeah, my emotions. I kept over and over again, just kept saying it probably every 2 minutes. What a game. Holy shit. What a game. We're so spoiled. Like the offense that we get to see over and over again, and it's coming out of the AFC. Right? The offense in the AFC right now is insane. Josh Allen, the one throw that he made where it was like sidearmed and it was like looped around his offensive lineman who was in block protection. It was just awe. My jaw was down damn near the whole last 2.5 minutes of that game. Didn't know who was going to win that game. That's the drama, man, that people watch football for, that last 2 minutes. Who cared about the rest of the 45 minutes to an hour of playing, right?
And rarely I'm going to say never it happens where we get 25 points in 2 minutes, unless you're watching that. There was a bowl game recently. I think it was the Tennessee bowl game where there was like 36 points in the last 3 minutes. But
holy hell,
rarely does it ever happen where we're like, yep, it's all coming down to this. And then it actually all does come down to this. 13 seconds left. I really don't understand why the Bills didn't try and kick it on the ground, why they didn't try and kick it into play at least to try and kill a little bit more time off the clock. But they didn't. And then at that point, you have to assume to go all that way on 2 plays is poor defense. And Leslie Frazier, who's up for head coaching jobs, clearly didn't have his head in the game.
The last 2 minutes. 2 things I noticed, both special teams things, were obviously the kick that everybody's talking about, how they should not have kicked it through the end zone. And why in the hell would you ever punt a ball to Tyreek Hill? Twice, not once, twice. Like, you got lucky the first time. Then you do a re-kick, and look what happened. Those are 2 things that stood out to me. And yeah, and the defense on both sides was absolutely atrocious. Buffalo, who's supposed to be the best defense in football, did not look like it at all.
No.
All they kept saying the whole broadcast was, they have 2 all-pro safeties. I can't believe they didn't make a Pro Bowl. I can't believe they got named all-pros. So let's start with that. They did not look like it. I understand the game's on the line. You're my 2 best players. Your job as a safety is let no one get past you. That's literally your job. And I understand that they have a track star in Tyreek Hill. But
man,
you can't let guys. You just can't let guys run wild all over you. So yeah, no, it's the problem is that when you play prevent defenses, this is what happens. You can't play a team, Kansas City, and be like, you know what? We're just going to play too high and let them do what they want underneath us because those guys are way too fast. You got to keep playing your game.
Well, speaking of the Kansas City game and the way that they play offense, it was fine because they ended up winning the game. So it's not going to be a significant play that anybody talks about. But 3rd and 1, you're on the 5-yard line, and you put your 3rd string tight end under center to run the option. And that is the reason that this Kansas City OC will never be a head coach in the NFL, and he'll never be a significant anything other than Andy Reid's play caller. That's it. That is you do not take the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands on the 5-yard line. In that's where the game was going. They needed that score. That turned into a field goal. Again, they redeemed themselves. They got it back. It doesn't matter now. But until that wild sequence of 2 minutes, that looked like a pretty fucking stupid thing to do. 3rd and 1. If this guy is the best quarterback in the AFC, why is he lining up with having nothing to do with the play?
There's one guy I'm lining up back there if that's the case. That's your running back, Derrick Henry. Because everybody knows he's getting the ball anyways. I don't want to waste a second with him taking a handoff. That would be the only person I'd ever put back to that quarterback. But to put him up under center, first off, you're putting him at such a disadvantage. And to take a ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands makes no sense. I've seen Andy Reid go for it on 4th down with Chad Henne because he didn't have Patrick Mahomes. This time they just chose not to use Patrick Mahomes. Like, if that game doesn't, like, if they don't win this game, how does Andy Reid have a job? How does Eric Bellamy have a job? And I understand it's like, well, look what he's done. Great. But if you're going to let games get away with you because of your pride and you want to be smarter than the next guy, no. I'm sorry. That can't happen. Not in these games. Not when you're going against a guy like Josh Allen and that Bills team. They got lucky.
They did. Okay, then go ahead. I know you got something on your mind. I can see it kind of in your
Through
face.
the pixels.
Man, I don't mind that. I hated the fact they went under center. If you put him back in any type of other in the shotgun situation, it's not that bad. I just don't understand why they didn't have Kelsey there. Like, what are you doing with your third string tight end? That was just that was surprising to me. And then you run a pitch play to McKinnon, who like if he on the short side of the field, I think it was too. Like if he doesn't get wide, it's going to be a problem. The defense is there; they're stacked, right?
So he lost 3 yards on the play.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I like the play call. I just don't like the personnel that was used for the play call. And it certainly looks like Edwards-Helaire. Like, what kind of roles is he gonna have next year?
Hey, we called that guy bust from the draft day. So
shit, I don't know if he'll ever get over his fumbling issues if he's not gonna play.
Well, it seems like McKinnon's gonna be a part of whatever they do next year and whatever they continue to do this year for the playoffs. At this point, I mean, it's hard to imagine anybody but the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, which kind of makes you sick to your stomach. But the way that the playoffs have been going, we will see. Last point about this game, and then we'll move on to because there's lots of fun. And I mean, it's almost disrespectful to the other 3 games, the way that this one ended, because of how good the rest of the football was, and it's just going to be overshadowed. Do we got to change the rules for overtime here or what?
I don't know. I don't know. You know, if you're going to have this league that's driven offensively and change all the rules to make the offense easier for I think you might have to change the rules then in overtime. Like I would normally, if you had before all the rule changes years ago, I don't think I would have wanted the OT rules to be changed. But now, because it's so easy to score on offense, it's tough to say to your defense, go out there and stop them. Because we just saw what a number 1 or at least the number 3 defense in the NFL looks like against an offense that's still not even the number 1 offense in the league.
Right.
I have 2 sides of the story, I guess we'll say. Number 1, I don't think the rules should be changed. They've already changed them. I understand you lose a coin toss and they run down and they have the ball and they score. Cool. Right. Your job as a defense.
Josh Miller agrees with me. He says that both teams need to touch it, but keep going, Chad. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I get excited.
Your job as a defense is to stop the fucking offense. If you lose a coin toss and I'm putting you out there, your job is to stop the offense. And I understand, like, well, the Josh Allen didn't get his chance. That's cool. But at the end of the day, then your team should have fucking stopped them. It's that simple. If they get a field goal, yeah, then you get a second chance. But if we're just going to sit out saying, like, well, we got to make sure everybody gets to touch the ball today so everybody feels better about themselves, that's kind of the route you're going. You play professional football. You get paid a fuck ton of money to do it. Do go out there and do your job. Stop the offense.
Well, I'll give you a stat that might change your mind here.
It probably won't.
Since they've changed the rules, the team that gets the ball first, i.e., the team that wins the coin toss, is 10-1. So It's not like this is an isolated incident. This is something that continues to happen and continues to be a problem. And it's a problem because it's not about fairness. It's about better watching for us. I could give 2 fucks if the Bills lost yesterday, other than I bet on them. But we as fans deserved a better ending than 6 plays down the field. Travis Kelce catches it. No one even realizes the fucking play's under review. Everyone's celebrating on the field. See you later. Moving on. We deserved as fans to see Josh Allen get the ball. And I'm not suggesting college overtime where everyone gets it at the 25 and you just chuck it in the end zone. That game would probably still be happening right now, and we would all still be watching it. But can't we just say, you win the coin toss, you start on your own 40, take it over. You get the ball on your own 40, take it over. Then it's fair game after that. Like, why is that so bad? As fans, we should be wanting that. Like, I get that the players don't want to play extra. I get that the coaches want some kind of upper hand from winning the coin toss. But if we're saying that your job as a professional is to do your job, we can't say that we're just going to judge it all on a coin toss. And that's literally what we're judging who wins overtime is by a coin toss.
Yeah. You're right on my alley, Shane. Right up my alley. Again, you can't give the offenses all this leeway and have players like or teams like the Colts who abuse defenses with pass interference plays for 60% of the year. That you take that in. Imagine if that was what happened last night. Pass interference plays got it up the field in OT, and it was a coin toss that got them into this 2-yard line, and they were able to run it in. What kind of shit is that? So I'd agree. I don't think from the 25. I don't like that college rule, but I think there needs to be a stepping stone there, and that is a nice stepping stone to then get to the 40 in the big leagues.
Right. Imagine that, you just take the kickers out of it. Each team starts on the 40. It's basically as if each kicker stepped up and kicked it out of bounds. You started on your own 40. You got to take it across. If you get your field goal, you get the field goal. If the other team scores a touchdown, whatever, you both get a field goal or you both get a touchdown. Then your next possession, it's all fair game. But at that point,
what's going to happen is the next time it's going to be like, well, he had 2 and he only had 1.
The other. Like, what are we doing here?
Apparently, the Bucs kicker thought that if you buried him inside the 5, then they just got it there. I could think of 2. Was it just 2?
It was 2.
Felt like more.
He only got to 2. Yeah, I remember when he got that's the second one today.
Yeah. We'll see we'll see if people want to put anything in the comments about overtime. We might circle back to it later, but we should move on to the Bucs and the Rams because again, when you look at a Sunday of football, what an epic way to watch a divisional round. Liam's Rams against Chad's Bucs. We buried Tom Brady. Chad and I were burying Tom Brady in our chat. We already retired him. He's out. There's no way he comes back. There's no weapons left. Byron Leftwich is taking another job. He doesn't want another OC. Gronk's a free agent, but we think he'll play there if Brady plays there. But Chad and I both retired Tom Brady yesterday. 27-3, and then all hell breaks loose. Cam Akers just decides to start dropping the ball. For some reason, Tom Brady just reaches down inside of him, and whatever little bit of soul he has that he did not sell, he just fires it into the end zone. And it became a game really quick. And I guess let's give Chad the floor here, because as a Bucs fan, I want to know what his emotions were like, because I was sitting there like, fuck. And then 2 throws the cup, and it's lights out. So what's going on here?
So a couple things that stood out to me. The kickoffs, 1,000,000% unacceptable. You can kick a ball through an end zone. So I understand that you're trying to pin them, but come on, man. It's pretty simple.
Why is your kickoff guy either? That doesn't.
Because Suckup doesn't have the leg.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no. You put 2 out of bounds. You give a really good offense, perfect, like really good field position. I think they actually scored on both possessions. Ed Hockley decided that he just didn't give a fuck about anything yesterday, and the unsportsmanlike to Nakamik and Sue. I've never seen a Bush League call that bad in my life. Like, obviously, he's still mad at Sue for something. I've seen so many worse taunting penalties that go really. You literally pick up a fucking fumble, you sprint 90 yards down the field and row a boat, and that's okay. You literally have guys taking off their helmets, throwing up do signs, doing whatever the hell they want, having dances. He looks at Stafford and gives him one of these when they were former teammates, and this fucking juiced up fucking referee wants to flex his muscles and throw a flag. What happens? Touchdown. That would have ended the drive. Touchdown. And then on a blatant headshot to Tom Brady, lets it go. Tom's like, look at my face. And he's like, oh, he said vulgar words. Shut the fuck up, you grown ass man. I'm sorry that Tom Brady hurt your feelings, but like maybe you didn't fucking take steroids right to your biceps. You wouldn't be such a little bitch and fucking be questioning your own manhood. And then you throw a flag that changed the whole drive. That was that referee taking over the game.
I'm gonna stop you for one sec. Do you guys remember when Chad told us he was okay? We all came on here and he was like, "Yeah, Chad's okay. Chad's okay." Yeah. Does Chad sound okay?
No, I'm okay. But like when a fucking referee does shit like that, like I haven't blamed the ref once. I'm not blaming the ref for why we lost. We played like shit in the first half. But those 2 penalties are an absolute joke. I wouldn't care what game I was watching. I'd feel exactly the same way. That was a guy who had a full-blown vendetta, and it showed. And it's a fucking travesty that they're going to let him keep officiating. Those guys in Cincinnati last week, they can't call a game. But you're gonna let this asshole do it? No. And you guys can laugh about it. I know, Kalen, this was the other way around. You'd be losing your goddamn shit.
Well, to be fair, I was on the other side. I did take the taunting.
Hey,
I remember
no
when
no Titan stuff until we get deeper into the show here.
Well, no,
you're gonna get your time.
No, I'm talking about back in like week 3 when we played the Seahawks. Remember they hit AJ Brown and then he stood over top of him and flexed and we ended up getting a first down. It was on like a big 4th down. And we ended up getting a touchdown on that play, and that was like the beginning of the comeback for us.
I was supposed to be at that game. Thank you, COVID.
But the one thing that I mocked it because obviously it went my way there. But the one thing that the refs and the NFL kept saying every single week until the players knocked it off was, you want to taunt, you want to run 90 yards upfield, this is fine, as you mentioned. Do not look at the player that you were doing the play on and make any kind of
Tyreek fucking Hill gives deuces as he runs by somebody and wins a game. That's fine.
He got a penalty.
No, he didn't.
Well,
so where's the fucking consistency?
I don't think the Chiefs got a penalty in that entire game. Maybe one.
Like, I agree with the dead ball call on Mike Evans. It sucks, but that was the right call. Like, I'm not complaining with that one.
Millisecond.
He got
cooked. But I'm not complaining with that because that's actually within the rules and that's the right call. Those 2 other ones, first off, the Brady one was a blatant headshot, so that's 15 yards you didn't call. And then to turn around and flip it on us, you can't tell me Ed Hockley didn't lose money on a Tom Brady game one where in his life, and he's like, fuck it, I'm getting him. He fucking Pete Rosed us.
He could have. He very well could have. Maybe there's a deeper thing. Maybe it's not Ed Hockley. It's Ed Hockley's son. Whatever. Sean Hockley, is that his name? Maybe Sean Hockley's wife has a Tom Brady poster at home. Maybe this thing goes deeper than you think. Maybe this is deeper than football, Chad.
Yeah, wait till the Illuminati talks about this in 2 weeks.
God.
Because Tom Brady's on their side.
Kalen, what's going on over there?
In regards to the Bucs game?
Yeah, man.
Thrilling. And OBJ's really found himself a home. Holy shit, the Rams are dangerous. They really, man, they're going to be a strong team.
Oh, we got another Bucs fan that just tuned in.
Uh-oh.
Poor guy. Poor guy.
You missed the rant.
But
that's it.
We'll talk about potentially later, but I don't know, man. I got this. I know Tom's pretty settled in there, but he might be on his way out of Tampa to go somewhere else. I got a couple of places he might want to land.
Oh, you think he's going to play somewhere else? We just retired him.
No, I don't know. The way he kind of left it at the end there, like, I don't know. I don't think he's actually going to finish in Tampa.
Well, I have a follow-up question for Chad then. How do you feel about that? Are you all right with that?
Yeah, he's not our guy. Like, I'd actually be more mad if I was a Patriots fan.
If he was just
I literally knew he was a rental player. I was shocked 2 years out of him. And if what you and I talked about yesterday with all those guys leaving and could potentially be leaving, as much as and as great as Tom Brady is, he needs a big supporting cast at this point in his career. Like, this guy's not going to the Jets and he's not winning 13 games. If you put him down in Jacksonville, he's not winning 11 games. Literally, like, I made the joke before he came on with the Rams building a dream team, but we did the exact same thing. He literally went to Tampa and picked his own guys. And, like, they were all on short-term deals outside of Godwin, who got franchised. But yeah, no, like, would I be surprised? No. Would I be mad? Dude, if this guy wants to play till he's 50 and chase it, as fans, what right do we have to tell him to go fuck himself? He's the best quarterback we're ever going to see do it. And watch him bounce around. It is what it is.
I'll be pissed off if he goes anywhere but Pittsburgh.
But
hey, look, that motherfucker owes us one. So if he decided to put on the black and gold and follow Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, it'd be a little bit disrespectful to Ben. But I was thinking, like, Ben had his send-off tour, whatever, and Tom Brady's just gonna retire at the same time and be like, these motherfuckers are gonna go on the same Pro Bowl ballot or the same Hall of Fame ballot. Oh,
nothing against Ben, but he might bet. Tom might get voted ahead of him.
Yeah, do they put in 2 quarterbacks? That's 5 years from now, problem. But yeah, I don't know, man. The other season talk, but if you're telling me that Giselle is moving from Tampa, Florida to Minneapolis, Minnesota, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. It gets cold there.
Yeah.
That's way too close to Canada. That's not happening, man.
That's why I got the dome.
They're more north than we are.
Yo, you know how cold it is when you open a door inside your house. Imagine all those doors open inside the dome. It's gonna be fucking freezing in there. I don't want any part of that. Now, I get like the Jefferson that makes sense. Dalvin Cook makes sense. They even have a couple of like up and coming receivers like Osborne. Like some of these guys are decent, but I don't think that they have the structure in place for them. I honestly don't even know of a great fit for Tom Brady outside of maybe the team that beat the Packers, the San Francisco 49ers. Wouldn't make a lot of sense because they have Jimmy G and they have their heir apparent on the bench. But if you're Kyle Shanahan and Tom Brady says, "Hey, I want to come play with you for 2 years," you're probably taking it.
Back to the Aaron Rodgers gone thing. I think it's time he's going to move on. I think they're going to kind of hint towards that. Just the fact that I think he has 1 year left on his contract, correct?
I think so.
You could probably get a lot for him, and I think it's time to really see what you have in Jordan Love. And like this is business wise, not like the love of Aaron Rodgers. And the way he's acted the last off season, are you going to go down that road again? I think it's time to try to put a package for him. Like, look what they got for Stafford in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting way more for Aaron Rodgers.
How many first-round picks do the Colts have? I bet you they would be pretty interested in Aaron Rodgers.
Stop. I don't want that guy playing in a dome.
Well, Tennessee's probably looking for a quarterback too. So.
Oh, they definitely are. Yeah, stick around for the last block of time here.
Listen, that's my pipe dream that talking about Brady. I said there's a couple of teams coming home to the Patriots South. I don't think is a bad idea.
I could see that.
And we'll talk about that later. But I do think that our ownership, our front office, and Mike Vrabel has saw what they saw, and why not call in an old friend to see if he can get one last shot because our window's small.
We're just not going to talk about this 49ers game, are we? Because there is quite a lot.
We definitely are. I mean,
we're all getting sidetracked here.
Like I said, as we always do, we're too stupid to stay on track with anything. Back to the 49ers, as Chad said. I'm just going to say it because I said it at the beginning of the playoffs. The 49ers were the team you didn't want to play. And I understand that there was in baseball, it's what we would call a bloop and a blast. That's pretty much how the 49ers won this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I stick by what I said. I don't think that the Rams wanted to face the 49ers. I don't think that the Packers did. And the Cowboys definitely weren't ready for it. So,
and they they swept the Rams, didn't they?
They've beaten the Rams.
Beat the Rams twice.
Like 6 times, right? 6 straight times?
6 times in a row, yeah.
So
I don't think that.
Are you calling him right now?
Hasn't lost to the Rams since he got there.
So is that you calling him? Are you calling the dance then?
I want to be there, but I mean, I'm gonna keep riding that hot wave.
If Andrew Whitworth can't go, it's gonna be a really long day. For that Rams offensive line, because it did not look very good. Both their tackles were beat up. If Andrew Whitworth can't come back, then you're playing with 2 bad tackles again. And that 49ers defensive line is ruthless.
Well,
and they played 3 quarters against the Chiefs 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, and their defense almost won them a game. And I think they're better than that defense was.
To be fair, this would be a far different story here if Cam Akers knew how to hold on to a ball. I mean, the guy's just coming back into the lineup here after having an entire season off, 2 straight fumbles on back-to-back tries like that. Not going to help in anything. It would be a full swing of points here. It wouldn't have been a remotely close game yesterday. If he can somehow get straight with his holding onto the ball, that Rams offense is fucking scary.
It definitely is. And the 49ers, they need to get healthy in the secondary. But it's the NFC Championship game. It's in LA. Something like I think that we've seen some pretty good football. I think the best football is still yet to come this weekend. And as much as I have beaten down, well, you know what? I will save what I was about to say, and I will put a pin into that one for a second, because I don't want to get too far off the 49ers, because then we'll never get back to them. Do people underestimate the value that A.J. Dillon has in the Packers offense?
100%. I picked him up in fantasy, and I know fantasy football is not real football. I'm the first person to say that. But also, I got to watch his production every week. And as time went on, he got a little bit better, got more touches. And we saw the value in him, even as a receiver. And he's a big body, and he can move, and especially in the cold weather and in the late months. I don't want to hit a guy that's 245 pounds.
No.
And Aaron Jones is, I'd say, a top 5, top 7 running back in this league, 100%. But I think having that compliment of A.J. Dillon, as people just don't realize how valuable that was.
Yeah, and like the way that the Packers offensive line was playing, the way that the 49ers defensive line was playing, I think that they needed someone that could just slam through, not a finesse runner like Aaron Jones. Now, Aaron Jones made some plays, and he had probably the biggest play of the game on that blown coverage. But it didn't result in what the Packers needed from it, which was points. I mean, it resulted in a blocked field goal ultimately. So the Packers special teams coordinator, he's fired, right? That dude's done? Okay.
There's no way that guy's a job.
Yeah. Coming back to A.J. Dillon, though, and Aaron Jones, though, like, I think Aaron Jones is just another Alvin Kamara, is he not? Like, he had his couple thousand years, but like the way that he runs the ball, the way that he's used as a receiver there, he's just Alvin Kamara all over again. And A.J. Dillon is like their inside, their traditional running back.
Yeah.
And like A.J. Dillon reminds me that kind of the same thing we talked about with Derrick Henry last week. It was like, it's 3 yards in the first quarter. It's 4 yards in the second quarter. As that game wears on, you don't want to hit those guys because they don't slow down. And when you're the hammer near the nail, there's a big difference.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of where the offense started to sputter out. I think that there's some people out there that are being pretty critical of Aaron Rodgers, and in this game they might have a point that it took until late into the fourth quarter or midway through the fourth quarter for another wide receiver, to get a target outside of Devontae Adams. I think that that's problematic. It's also a reason why he probably doesn't want to stick around, because I do think that Devontae Adams is gone, because there's no way that they're going to be able to pay this guy $20 million when they're already way under, or way over, sorry. The guys just... Alan Lazard isn't a dude. Equininius St. Brown. You know, these are guys that are practice squad receivers on other teams that just happen to be guys that are starting receivers in Green Bay because of the way that their cap is structured. And I think Rodgers is sick of it. So unless you're going to use Aaron Jones a little bit more out of the pass game, have Dillon line up in the backfield and just keep running him around. And the Kamara comparison is pretty good. So if Kamara is Aaron Jones and a good Mark Ingram is A.J. Dillon, but put on another 20 pounds onto that dude, I think you got something there. And you might have something that Jordan Love can work with, but I don't think that's what Aaron Rodgers wants to work with.
And he's wanted a receiver for years, and they never gave him one.
Remember who we lost this year too, guys. A player that should have made the Pro Bowl last year was snubbed by Evan Ingram. Robert Tonyan. That was one of his go-to receivers. He was a touchdown machine for him last year. He probably would have been good for another double-digit set of touchdowns this year. And I don't know if they would have had the problems against the Rams if they had Robert Tonyan in there. Mercedes Lewis's drop, pitiful. He's a blocking tight end at best at this point. I just think that was something that Rodgers knew, was his tight end safety blanket again. If he had his 1 and 2, would have been a far different story for him throughout the whole year too. And that's saying he had 37 and 4. I mean, he probably would have been like 45 and 1. Fuck.
And I mean, the biggest story out of this is going to continue to be the emergence of Deebo Samuels. I'm not going to continue to take all the credit for his career, but I feel like I had a small part in it, even if it's just a really, really minuscule small part in him getting drafted. So the way
and
that
I'm the only person that can back you up in that statement.
Yeah. Hey, you're credible, right?
I'm a published author.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take it. The way that they continue to use this guy, the way that he continues to fight through it, you could tell that at certain points he was pretty banged up, but he continued to go in there, continued to do the work, whatever they needed to be done. And ultimately, what he did powered his offense to a point where they were in a position to win. Now, the special teams blocking that punt, obviously, that's what they needed. But Debo being able to solidify things at the end there, setting up Robbie Gould, who, this guy was kicking field goals even as the Packers were coming out of the tunnel. So I think he was
Such a
prepared
dick
for it.
move.
Yeah, I wish that they had shown that in the actual pregame, because I think at that point I would have went and hit a live bet on the 49ers. But it is what it is, and the 49ers move on. The Packers go home 1 and done again. Aaron Rodgers 0-4 against the 49ers.
And you saw Jimmy G drop the F-bomb, high-fiving Robbie Gould after the game.
No, but that's awesome.
He said, fuck the Packers. Top of his lungs, he yelled it out.
You have Robbie Gould kicking field goals during the Packers warm-up. Such a big dick move. And then, finally, Kalen, it's your moment. And there was a kicker that said, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship. Just some big dick energy. And he lived up to the hype, and he called a shot. So, Kalen, the floor is yours.
Thanks for leading me into that one.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Money Mac.
Yes, time for a little Bengals and Titans.
Yes, and the couple of whistles that didn't happen for Cincinnati this game. It's like Cincinnati keeps having these whistles, these phantom whistle calls happening for them right now. I don't know, Chad, how well you paid attention to the game, but the winning field goal or the winning interception, which turned the game around for the Bengals, there should have been a timeout called. Didn't get it in, apparently.
Feels like rest or just,
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
a great job.
Double fisting. No, it was. I told you guys it was a rough weekend. That was a game. I don't know if I felt that way, honestly, since the Super Bowl that they lost, and I wasn't even heavily invested into the team at that point. That's how far I feel the team has come, and how close we really, really were. And it was ripped out of my hands on the first damn play of the game. I feel there was nothing that we could have done right from that moment on. I felt like, unfortunately, the guy that I call Tanny Thrill, did not do those things. Unfortunately,
Well, he did a lot of thrilling things.
Yeah,
for,
I mean,
Cincinnati fans.
Yeah, and I question the, we've been talking about earlier play call decisions and going to Nicholas Westbrook-Akina. We talked about him all season long. The only reason anybody even knew his name was because the injuries we had all year long. You have A.J. Brown, you have Julio Jones out there, and that's who you go to, who ends up getting the tipped interception to seal the game or turn the game over in their favor. Just terrible, man, terrible. And Vrabel said it today. You got to have your players show up in big games. Yesterday this is why, as I mentioned, the pipe dream and what they had saw. When talking about Tom Brady coming to Tennessee, yesterday he was asked about Ryan Tannehill and about Todd Downing, who's the offensive coordinator, and he said, "As long as I am here, it will never be one person's fault." And then he followed up with, which is going to be a long time for him being there. And then today he's questioned about Tannehill not showing up and Derrick Henry having a dud of a playoff game again. I got stuffed in the backfield 3 times yesterday, and one of them was on 4th down. But he asked, what's going on with your players not showing up? And your players have to show up in big games. All season long, we tell these guys big games are going to come, and your name is going to get called, and you have to show up. So it's quite the turnaround in 24 hours, which I'm sure he had some opportunity to watch a little bit more film over the night. But as soon as the game was over, I was watching it with Ricky, and I turned to him, and I said, I've been Tannehill's supporter since day one, and you guys can definitely say that. I'm going to be surprised if he's back next year. And if he is, it's strictly because we're right up against the cap too. And it's damn near hard to get rid of him at this point.
All right. Well, there you go. I was actually prepared for you to start defending him. And I was going to say that the only team that has a secure quarterback for next year in your division is the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is painful. but that kind of takes the steam out of that. So,
well, hey, we got a lot to build on, Shane. I can be positive about that. 9 sacks in a playoff game and a turnover, still can't win. So, I mean, who else can you put the blame on? You had A.J. Brown, 143 yards and a touchdown.
There was no O-line in that game. It was just Mississippi's. So,
yeah.
Until Joe Burrow learns what a Mississippi is, he is going to continue to get sacked like that. And, you got to give the guy a little bit of credit. I mean, 9 sacks, and he just got up and continued to play, and wasn't statistically his best game, but he
T.
got it done.
Higgins had his way. We were able to shut
The
down
na-
Jamar Chase, right? So maybe we get
Yeah.
the blueprint.
The 9 sacks and still winning is something you cannot teach. There's a lot of quarterbacks, and there's a lot of really good quarterbacks who would have crumbled in that situation. Like, yes, he did not play his best game, but he played good enough. And I've seen a lot of good quarterbacks get hit like that and abused like that, and they're not in the game anymore,
Yeah,
physically or mentally. It could have gone either way, but his body held up and his head stayed in the game, and it shows the poise that he has and the moxie that he has, and the I would say the swagger, the assholeness is what I like to call it, that a quarterback has to have. And my props to him and to that team. But yeah, if his offensive line can't figure it out, it's going to be a long, long day. Because, yeah, you kept Tennessee's offense in check, but that's a track team on the other side in Kansas City.
Yeah, well, and that's going to be a wild game. And, I mean, Joe Burrow put himself in pretty historic company for winning a game after being sacked like that. A guy named Donovan McNabb, who we all know had an amazing career after that happened to him. So if Joe Burrow right now could sign up for Donovan McNabb's career, I'm sure he would go to baseball instead.
You were talking about, I mean, we saw Sam Darnold only got sacked 4 times and was seeing friggin' ghosts. So you're right. To be able to sit there and sit in there and take those shots that he was taking, they weren't easy sacks. He was getting popped a lot of the time. You're right. He just threw and threw and threw and. I saw a young kid at the line calling out protections against we don't blitz a lot. We blitzed a lot over the weekend. That guy was calling out protections, and some of them were right.
Just choose to listen, or
no? It was some of them were right. It was some of the a lot of the sacks that happened was just his tackles giving absolutely free runs. It was brutal. But you could tell the players that he was calling out that were coming blitzing up the A or the B gap, he was calling them out properly. It was well done. Shane, I've been talking about him all year long. You kind of just said giving him props. I think that's more than I can ever ask for you about talking about Joe Burrow. But this is this is the moxie I'm talking about with this kid, and playing on the big stage, the first game of the playoff weekend here coming in to set the tone for everybody else who's going to be watching or playing now. This is what I think you guys are going to have to deal with for the next decade in that division. And I'm not jealous of you at all.
I don't like how not mad you are. Like I said, I was okay, but I came in with some passion. You just sound like a defeated man. You look like Michael Jordan.
Chad, I'm not going to lie. I literally have not shed tears since 99. I shed tears Saturday. I came home defeated, bro. I have put so much invested time into watching this team this year, talking shit to people, really thinking that it was going to be our year.
You were the king of PFF, and I'm not going to lie. I shed a tear too when you guys lost.
That's because you lost your bet, you jerk.
No, I won my bet again when you guys lost. It was more the fact that I was like, is it just one single tear of happiness? I was like, man, you sent so many memes and so many Twitter things this year.
Burn again. Oh my golly. Tear of happiness?
Yeah.
Maybe we can all agree on something here, and I've been talking about it pretty much all year. Joe Mixon sucks, right? Like, is anybody else feeling the same way?
Well, how are we going to blame him the whole time if you saw firsthand their offensive line sucks. And Tennessee was the second-ranked run defense in the league, so that's not going to help matters at all either. But their offensive line is absolutely god-awful. And they were figured out by halfway through the season.
They probably should have drafted an offensive lineman.
Yeah. Do you think that they regret taking Jamar Chase now over Sewell?
What? No, absolutely not. Come on.
Oh, well, we'll see. I mean, so far
time will tell on that one.
It's cost Joe Burrow one knee, their shitty offensive line. So we'll see. We'll see. He's got 2, I guess. I mean, we'll see how it works out for him. But yeah, I guess it's official. Joe Mixon sucks. Are the Titans going to bring back Foreman next year?
I think that would be
to kind of be a 1-2.
I think they would be smart to, but I don't think that we have the money to do it. I think Foreman has priced himself into starting somewhere. Going to a place like Buffalo and being a starter there could make sense for him. We're talking about a guy that had more 100-yard games than John. Yeah, stop it. I said it before, but he had more 100-yard games than Jonathan Taylor down the stretch when we were talking about Jonathan Taylor for MVP. So That's a guy I think he's just priced himself out of Tennessee right now, unfortunately for us.
I can't imagine the guy making more than $3 million next year, but we'll see. I mean, free agency is a free agency. Now, one more last point about the Titans game here, because on that final drive,
Oh,
it kind of
I was
seemed like
hoping
they
you
were
weren't going to bring it up, man. I was really hoping you weren't going to bring that up.
it just seemed like they were playing for overtime.
Right? What the hell was
And-
going on?
And well, that's what I wanted to ask you, because I'm not going to pretend like I watched a lot of Tennessee games, but that was a joke. I mean, for Vrabel, I hold him in a pretty high regards. That was a joke.
I don't get it at all. We have never in the final Tannehill, since he's taken over for the Titans, is actually, I think he might be first or second in game-winning drives since he's taken over. I'm not, and Liam could probably look that up for us. We've been aggressive in final minutes of the season or final minutes of the game many, many times before. You had 2 minutes, like a minute 48 you had left. You had 2 timeouts, and you took it to 39 seconds or was it 28 seconds before you threw the interception there, or 39 or 28. I can't remember what it was. It just doesn't make any sense. I just don't understand the logic there. You're going against a team who, yeah, you were sacking them, but the team could, at any second, Jamar Chase could have gone off. He did it. They turned a bubble screen, minus 3-yard loss into a 60-yard gain. It just was a dangerous way to play the game. Why not be aggressive and try and get into field goal range? You want to talk about a story. You got Randy Bullock, who's been a pretty damn good field goal kicker, not from outside of 54 yards, but get him in range and give him the opportunity to beat the team that cut him last year for Money Mac. Maybe we have a different conversation than talking about Money Mac walking the field. The AFC Championship is theirs. I don't understand it. And again, then Vrabel today defends Downing. So I don't know where we go with the OC.
I think he sticks around. I mean, it's his first year, right?
It's not his first
Sounds
year
like
as
quarterback
an offensive coordinator. In Tennessee, it is. But he was the reason. If you remember, he was the offensive coordinator for the Raiders. The year that Derek Carr went from MVP to fucking nothing the following year, that was the year that Todd Downing was the offensive coordinator. So that's what we were hoping was going to be a bit of a different after 8 more years in the league.
That explains the whole Tannehill thing, because that guy fucking sucked this year.
Regressed like shit.
Yeah. All right. Well, that kept us pretty much on time here. We don't even need to use up any of our other stuff here. You guys got any final thoughts? Obviously, we're heading into a pretty wild championship weekend here. I think that it played out the way it was supposed to. The Bengals and the Chiefs getting another shot at each other is probably going to be a pretty wild game.
Mhm.
And good on the Rams need to get over the 49er hump to get to the Super Bowl. So we could be looking at Joe Burrow versus Matt Stafford. We could be looking at Jimmy G versus Patrick Mahomes, or any combination of those. So it's kind of the reason I wanted Buffalo to win was because I thought it'd be cool to have 4 kind of new teams in the championship. I know Buffalo was there last year, but the opportunity for 4 quarterbacks that don't always get there to get to a Super Bowl, I thought was interesting, but didn't play it that way.
I just wanted to see you jump through a table. That's what I was more pumped for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it wasn't for a shitty prevent defense, I probably would be.
On a side note, I can come to your Super Bowl party now because Tampa Bay's not in the Super Bowl.
Well, that's good. Ideal. And we gotta plan our Super Bowl show. So
I won't show up at 1 o'clock though. Like I did that one year. Ooh.
especially if it's gonna be 49ers and Chiefs.
Yeah, I get a little hyped up that year.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's sign it off there. Kalen gave his final thoughts. I think he's replacing the quarterback, the offensive
The OC.
coordinator, and Tom Brady's coming to Tennessee. So we will. That's just a Cole's Notes version of what happened. So we will see how this thing all plays out. Make sure you check out the YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, which Kalen's got tons of time to play on Twitch now.
So we're doing Twitch on Tuesdays